Hello. How is this? Is this any better? Okay, well, at least this one's working. How is the sound? Hi. Well, I'm glad it sounds better for you. It doesn't sound better for me. Maybe my issue is with this app. Maybe, this keeps happening with fucking Streamlabs. So maybe going forward, I will switch to a different platform for streaming. There are others that people use that I've never played around with. You know, like, yeah, I think there's something going on with this. Maybe I'll also just uninstall and reinstall it. Because you guys are talking in the chat and it's showing me that there's like 0 viewers, which I have ghosts talking on here. Let me see how this looks on the web, on the YouTube. So is there static anymore, or is the static gone? Perfect for Halloween. I don't want to be perfect for Halloween. Yeah, you're all my ghost viewers. I just want to have a normal streaming experience. My God. Can you hear music? Can you hear me? Is there static? How's it working now? That's so strange. Like, on my end, I didn't touch anything. All I did was like end the stream, close the program, reopen it, and click stream. So I didn't do shit. And the other thing is I still hear the static and like the buzzing on my end, but now you don't. How can I have your experience instead of mine? Oh, Mother of Christ. Okay. Alrighty. Well, sound is good, but I would rather like to see you in HD than 144p. Is it still 144p? Because that's not me. I'm supposed to be streaming in like not 4K, at least HD. You can see me. Okay. Alrighty. Well, I want to get through this article before my computer explodes or something explodes again. Might be on your end. Oh, you're still getting 144p? I'm sorry. You can force me to be better. 1440p is better. That's better than 144p. That's 10 times better. Okay. Alrighty, well, I'm gonna go ahead and return to our lovely article while I still can. Alright. So Namjoon asked him, I've heard that you do a lot of stuff for the community, so I wonder how you deal with all the responsibilities to be good and moral. Williams, I mean, the charity work that I do, there's always a circumstance. Either I'd say some dumb shit and then regret it later, or there's been a time when I have a record that sort of affected a certain portion of a demographic. So then it made me think about things differently. And then I go set up a nonprofit and act against the ignorance that I was a part of, and educate myself, enlighten myself. Then other times I also do it because of what you just said. When you ask yourself, man, am I good enough? Or do I deserve all this? I think what makes it easier for me to sleep at night is when I go do that work, that charity work. It helps answer those questions. It's like wherever there was a deficit in your confidence of you deserving to be here or getting that kind of awe from the fans, whatever that minus is, this adds to it. I hope all of my confusion and these stupid thoughts will help my life get better and I can be a better grown up for the fan. Do you know how crazy it is to me that Namjoon, I mean, I think we're all like this, and that we focus on our flaws and they seem glaring to us as like this big thing, this big project that we need to fix. And the truth is that for most other people, like if they like you, your flaws kind of get like blurred and forgotten. Like they don't care. Like, so like the things that he focuses on, you know, that he needs to make sure he doesn't make mistakes, that he's more mature and a better grown up and a better role model. I'm like, be yourself, honey. Like, I like you the way you are, with all flaws, with all mistakes, with all like peculiarities. Like, I like you for you. I don't need perfection. If I wanted perfection, like, I don't know, I'd go play with a doll. Like, I think that the pressure of being an idol is something that seems to me like he's taken that in as part of his identity, that he has to always be as perfect as possible in order to be worthy of the love. And I love him not because he's perfect, but because he's inspired me in so many ways. He's made me see the world differently. He's made me act differently. He's helped me live a better quality life. He's brought me so much emotion. I've experienced so many highs, sometimes some lows with him, with BTS. Like, that is why I love them, not because they're flawless. So many people harp on his flaws, though. It must be wearying. Yeah. And I think all of the hate and backlash he got in the beginning of their career has really left scars on him and his understanding of who he is in the world. And that makes me very angry, because I think he's such an incredible human exactly the way he is. Like, including all those flaws. Like, I think it's also really validating to see someone that you love so much and idolize so much and look up to as a role model and be inspired by, like him, and say, oh, he's also really messy. Oh, he also like is clumsy and breaks things. Oh, like he can be annoying, or he can be bossy, or like he can be insensitive, and then he also can recognize his mistakes and correct them and work to improve himself. Like, seeing that means more to me than seeing someone who's perfect. Seeing someone who can acknowledge that we are human and we make mistakes and we have flaws and we're not all the same, and some things can't be changed. They just are a part of us. That is more validating and inspires me more and makes me feel better than if he was 100% perfect. They aren't perfect, but that's why we love them. We see how human they are and we relate. Yes, exactly. Williams, what people don't realize is when you have literally hundreds of millions of fans and you encounter them 100,000 at a time, RM can't notice a single face. It's just a mass. Williams, it is a massive energy coming at you, and you say jump. RM, then they jump. Williams, then they jump. And you sing, and they sing every word. And you can feel through their voices that so many of their lives have been affected and changed because of something you've done. I don't know how you do that, because I've had a couple songs do that, and then when I get out there and go sing it, that would make me cry because it was too much of a responsibility. Man, every time I get that close to that, I always step back. RM, why? Is it too heavy? Williams, it's too heavy, man. It's too much of a responsibility. That's why I really revere people like yourself and your band members and other artists like Bey and Jay and even Kanye. Like, man, what y'all go out there and go face every night on that stage, it is humbling and it's overwhelming. And sometimes your nervous system has got to be built for that. Let me ask you this. Okay, I'm going to pause there. Um, first off, in the podcast, they cut out the part where he said Kanye's name. So they cut it out there, but I guess, I don't know, they forgot to erase it here. Or they decided they would come clean that he did mention Kanye here. So there was a bit more to this in the podcast, this was a bigger chunk that they talked about. I really recommend listening to the podcast, and especially to this part, because and this is where Pharrell Williams' understanding of BTS and their fandom diverged from reality, because Williams was saying that your fans will never understand what it's like to be on your side of all that, of all of that energy, that massive energy coming at you. And the thing is well, actually, I can. I mean, I will never have experienced it the way they have, completely. But I can acknowledge it, and I can understand it. And I've actually thought about that. I remember even talking with you guys about it after BTS's concerts, PTD concerts in LA, because to me, I could see on their faces how terrified they were, especially that first night coming out, and just that roar of energy, of love, of emotion poured out at them. It was like a balloon being popped, because that was our first reunion after so many years, such a long time apart. And it was crazy. And I remember just being like, I can only imagine how scary it is that you had so many years of tours where you learned how to surf that energy and ride on top of it and maintain your presence of mind, remembering what you're supposed to do, being able to improvise, being able to relax to a certain extent and be yourself on stage and be playful and enjoy that experience. And then you were robbed of it when the pandemic ground everything to a halt, and you lost that skill, that habit. And then to be thrust back into that position where the crowd size is exactly the same as it was before, a massive stadium, but yet your ability and memory of what you're supposed to do and how to maintain yourself psychologically in that scenario is gone, and you're struggling to get it back and learn on the fly what you're supposed to do. I remember thinking that and just looking at them and being like, I don't know how to help you. And I feel for you, and I don't know how you're supposed to do it, but I admire the fact that the 7 of them got on stage anyway, when you could literally see, how in the opening, the opening song for On, they would come out from behind a cage, they would come out on stage and they'd be behind a cage, and you'd hear the opening notes of On, and then the camera would pan over them, and the screen would say their name, and then the cage rises and they come out onto the stage. When the camera was panning on their faces and showing them on the screen, they looked terrified, and I was just like, okay, yeah, good luck. I don't know. I don't know how to help you. So anyway, I was thinking about that, and in the podcast when Pharrell was like, oh, they'll never understand, they don't get it because they're on their side, and they're like, whoa, he's amazing. I'm like, well, that's the beauty of the BTS ARMY relationship, is that they've shown so much of their vulnerability with us, that for those, I don't want to make a blanket statement, because I do think parts of the fandom do idolize them, at least on the internet, in a way that I'm like, well, that doesn't match reality. They're still human beings. You can say oh, they're sex gods, oh, they're music gods, blah blah blah. I hope you mean that kind of hyperbolically, because that's not reality. They're still humans, right? And I don't think putting that kind of pressure on them is helpful for anyone. it's not helpful for your expectations of them as a fan, and it's not helpful for them for fans to have that expectation of them. But anyway, I've gone on this rant for many times, many years. But yeah, I just think the majority of ARMY, there's a large portion of armies who acknowledge them as humans, as people who are doing their fucking best, even when we don't always know what the best is supposed to be. And so we have such a connection with them, and they've told us so much and showed us so much that when they're on stage in front of us, we don't need to idolize them. We love them because they're not that God, that unattainable pedestal that we can't reach. We love them because they've come down to a level that is accessible to us. Does that make sense? Anyway, yeah, I was just like, yeah, Pharrell, you don't know. You don't know. Granted, I agree. I will never understand what it's like to stand on a stage in front of tens of thousands of people and be like, haha, fuck. But yeah. I'm really glad he told June that. It felt really validating for the specific challenges that pop stars face and artists who are seen as leaders of a community face. Agreed. It also felt like validation of how being a performer is a different skill set than being a musician or a recording artist. Yeah. I think you're right. We love their music and we love them as people, not just their personas. Yeah. And the thing is like, I think we're all mature enough that we can also acknowledge that there's a persona and there is a human, and there are times when they just want to show us the persona and we're okay with getting that, like in a concert. And there are times when they want to be more vulnerable and more relaxed and more playful, and we want that too, like when they show us behind the scenes stuff, when they do their shows or traveling shows, when they do their lives, sometimes when they're doing their ments, like that. Yeah, it's just, being a human is complicated. We all have different facets of our personality. We all have different ways that we want to behave in any given situation. We're not all one way. It's not black and white. A person's identity is not black and white. It's like 1,000 different shades of gray. And the fact that they made a point to acknowledge that and convey that through their music, especially during Love Yourself, especially in songs like Idol, is really special. I don't think I've ever seen anyone else acknowledge that. I think it was also through BTS that I realized that like my own personality is faceted, and I'm not lying when I act differently with different people. They're all actually me. After so many years, there's a level of trust that's been developed between BTS and ARMY. Yes, exactly. Okay, so going back to this article. The other part that I did want to say that I liked is when Pharrell said, I've had a couple of songs touch people, and when I go out there and sing it, it would make me cry because it's too much of a responsibility. I'm really glad he said that, because there are so many songs that BTS have that I do not understand how they find the wherewithal to sing it. Because, like, one example, fucking We Are Bulletproof the Eternal. How do they not sob every time that they sing it? It is such an intense song. So is Answer Love Myself. Magic Shop. Doucet 2-3. Any of their fan songs. But also, to be honest, actually any of them. Like, the connection that their music has made. Young Forever. Yes. Oh my god. Like, yeah, just the connection that their music has made with us is so intense. And there's also so much of themselves in their music that I'm just like, how are you not sobbing every time you go on stage and sing the opening lyric? Like, I feel like you need to disassociate from your body while you're singing. And honestly, I think that's what Namjoon says. So he says, William says, it is humbling and it's overwhelming, and sometimes your nervous system has got to be built for that. Let me ask you this. How do you deal after you come off the stage, feeling electrified and shocked every night? How do you decompress? I'm going to skip this quote. RM. My first performance was in front of 10 people in some small clubs when I was like 15. And I forgot most of the lyrics. So at that time I realized, oh, I'm not a star type. I'm not one of these frontmen who could enjoy all this shit like Kurt Cobain or Mike Jagger. I'm just a human who loves writing music. For example, we had these stadium shows in Las Vegas last April. It was 4 nights, but every night is a challenge. After we finish the first 3 songs and then we take out the earphones and we're like, we're fucking back. From that moment, there's a different persona, a different me for the next 2.5 hours. But before that, from the rehearsal and even in the plane, I get really, really nervous and feel so responsible because I really am aware that fans buy the tickets and they come from Brazil, from Japan, Korea, from everywhere. They come there for just that one night. I'm gonna pause this here. Yeah, so anyone who's ever put on a production of any kind, a performance of any kind, whether it's like playing an instrument, singing, being in a play, being in a musical, some kind of band performance, like something where you are reciting something or performing something to a crowd. I think this whole like I put on a persona or just like I plug in and I go. I think all of us kind of go through that. We're like leading up to it, you practice. You try to think of every scenario through, you try to fix every problem you can think of. And then when the actual performance is happening, you kind of just go, I have absolutely no choice. There's like the only thing I can do is plug myself in for this ride and do everything I can. Like nothing else matters beyond what is happening right now. It's just me and the audience. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I've had so many experiences like that where I'm just like, I'm like remembering being in school and all like my school musicals where like it was like you're just in the moment. Nothing else exists and you just have to plug in and go. You have no other choice. I've heard lots of singer-songwriters who write that type of highly emotional songs say it's time what allows them to sing those songs. They release them after they've processed the experiences, so many years later. That's fair. I could understand that. However, we are bulletproof the eternal. Those lyrics, honestly, yet to come. Like, you can process those emotions, but like still, every time you say those words, like I'm even thinking of Namjoon's lines in Answer Love Myself. Like, he talks about being suicidal in that song. Like, those are his literal lyrics and how Army made him find a reason to live again. Can you imagine him like having to sing that and re-say those words every time in that song? Like, how can you not fall apart? Maybe that's why they don't perform that song anymore very often. I have a really that song holds a special place in my heart. When I heard it, when they sang it at PTD in LA, I was a fucking sobbing wreck. Like, absurdly, like, my husband was like, there. But there's also songs artists don't sing on tour precisely because they can't. Like my sister told me, Ariana doesn't sing certain songs live because she cries. Yeah, okay, good. I feel reassured that they're not they're not crazy, because I'm just like, how can you not sing it without crying? Can we all just cry together while you go, I love you, blah blah blah, you show me reasons I should love myself. We're never getting C, are we? No. No. No, we're not. I think there might have been a moment, like during the Love Yourself tour, where they could have performed it and it would have made sense. But I guess they never could. And now I feel like the moment's passed. Like it's not a song that would make sense to sing now. You know what I mean? Because it was a song they came out at a different point in their career. No, I don't think we're getting C. There's a lot of high emotional intelligence in our fandom. We get it. But yeah. So basically when he says he puts on his persona, he is disassociating. Okay, let me move on. He said, they come here for just that one night, so it fills me like I have to pay back. I have to offer them the best night ever in their lives. So it's a mess, and it's too much energy. I'm a human, and I really get nervous, and I really sometimes get depressed by, and even get swallowed by all the energies. But I try to deal with it because I love the music. I love their love. Because I think love is really happening when we give to somebody, not when we take. So I just want to give back to them. They brought us from just a small city in Korea, all the way back to the heart of this music industry. Las Vegas, LA, New York. Me having an interview with Pharrell. It could happen because of fans all over the world. I'm just always grateful and I don't want to disappoint them. I really recommend listening to the podcast and hearing him say this in his own words. It really touches me. On the other hand, loved Cypher number 3 in Busan. Cypher part 3, yeah. I will continue to listen to Louder Than Bombs. A defense mechanism. I'm holding out for Louder Than Bombs. Maybe we shouldn't. So first off, they've told us that song is a technically difficult song. Like that song is difficult to sing from a technical perspective. But I also think from a emotional perspective, right? Because that's the song where they said, like, I sing to you and I feel how much it means to you and I feel how much you're going through life, and our music and our words are life raft for you in a world of so much darkness. We have no idea what to do with that, but we don't want to abandon you, but we don't know what the fuck to do. Can you all right, let's watch them try to perform that on stage without crying. No. I think we're all masochists that we want to hear that song live. And I think BTS are like, we were masochists for writing this. What the fuck is our problem? BTS are currently in what your bandmate Suga described as an off-season, which got mistranslated as a hiatus, with more focus on solo work for the moment. RM, you've said that to a certain extent you feel like you've lost a sense of direction for the group. By the way, I love this article for saying this. Yes, it's not a hiatus. It's just, it's different. It's an off-season is a great way of putting it. Good job, Rolling Stone. I like you more. Williams, I definitely had my struggles with having a lack of sense of purpose. RM, when? Williams, right around 2006 when I put out In My Mind. As soon as it didn't do what I wanted it to do, I mean, culturally it made an impression, but egotistically it didn't perform the way I wanted it to. It just didn't do what I was supposed to do at that time, and that really hit me hard. So that made me start to think about purpose and things having real true DNA and not just aesthetic purpose, but real true meaning and something that could be meaningful to people, but at the same time still fun. And I've always loved the girl, so that was always going to be a part of it. I don't understand what he means there, but okay. So I understand what that is. I know what it's like to hit that place in your career for whatever reason. You guys are doing fine, but I think from what I'm hearing and what I'm understanding, you hit a place where you were like, what are we doing? Who are we? Are we who we said we were? RM, right. Williams, and as you think about who you are and you think about what you mean and what your intentions are, it's also kind of determining who you want to be. I mean, how's that feel? Like, where are you in that process right now? Because you're working on a solo record, right? RM, yes, like 90% of the work is done. I've released some mixtapes as one of the members of the band, but it was just an experiment. What a fucking awesome experiment. I think this time it's maybe my official first solo album. I think it's really interesting that he thinks of it that way. But it's been like 10 years since we had our debut as a team. K-pop is all about the band and the groups. And as I told you, I personally started my career as a rapper and as a poet. So that was a tricky part actually, because K-pop is like a mix. It's the mix of American pop music, other visuals, Korea, and social media and stuff. It's really intense and really hectic, so it has some pros and cons of its own. After 10 years, I think it was not our intention, but we actually became a sort of a social figure, and we took it. So a K-pop band going to have a speech at the UN or meeting the president, I think I was really confused, and I'm like, what am I, a diplomat or what? Yeah, okay, so I scrolled and didn't see this before. Yeah, I can totally understand that confusion. And I really like that he tried to clarify why K-pop is what it is and why it's so busy, because even if we all like to say, oh, BTS is not part of K-pop, and to an extent I think that is true, they are not a part of K-pop, the model of how K-pop music is made, like the bare bones of it, are still what they do, and the expectations are still kind of the same, like all of that performing. And they've only recently stopped doing all those comeback shows because they were finally like, this is too fucking much. We can't give you a fresh performance every single day and that's different, like it's too intense, like. And I think I remember even Yoongi in one of his interviews talking about how like that's just not sustainable, like that doesn't allow for a good experience for the artist, and it's not safe and all of that. So again, they've transcended it, but the roots are very much K-pop IMO. Yeah. But yeah, I'm glad he explained to Pharrell like K-pop is non 24/7 365. Williams, right, yeah. RM, I was just a small rapper and lyricist when I was young, so it was 10 years really intense as a team, and I actually was in charge of almost all the interviews and representing the team in front of the other members. That was my role, I guess. I think I got really, I don't know, quote, yo, I gotta stop this for a bit, I gotta shut it down and fall away from it and then just see what's going on, making my mind really calm down. That's how I got to concentrate on my solo album. These days, I really have been thinking about, okay, I'm gonna pause there. So, I mean, I think we've all noticed in the last couple of years, Namjoon made a determined effort to step away from being the spokesperson for the group, especially every time they were interviewed in the West. And he would force, the other members like to step up, to say things, to participate, to prepare whatever it is that they wanted to say. And we've all seen all the interviews, all the times where Namjoon is just exhausted, being the translator for everyone, being the spokesperson, all of that stress, all of that responsibility, it was all on his shoulders. And I think that's too much for anyone. And it doesn't really give you space to figure out yourself because you're busy representing yourself and 6 other people and a whole company. So I'm really glad that he here acknowledged, yes, I did that on purpose. I stepped back, and then in addition to not being the lead for making music together, I started just working on my own stuff. And I think him making music for himself really helped him work through his thoughts and feelings about everything that's been going on, and helped him, try and find his identity better. Okay. Namjoon says, these days I really have been thinking about when I first listened to you, the first feeling and the vibe, and the reason why I started, why I chose music for my whole life, I guess. When I started my music, I was 14, and now I'm 28, so I'm in that process. It's really tricky and confusing, and I just don't know what's going to happen. So if you could give me any advice, because it's different from the K-pop, but you've done a lot of projects like NERD, Neptunes, and of course your solo work. So any thoughts about ... Williams, Being in the Neptunes, being a nerd, N-E-R-D. They said N-E-R-D in the podcast, but nerd is easier to say. And having a solo record really helped me because you do one thing and then you take a break. You do another thing, then you take a break. And it allows me to put on different hats and put on different masks. So I understand that, and I know having that departure is going to make it really fresh for you. I think it's good for you to do that because then when you come back to it, to the group, to the team. Williams, yeah, I think it's going to be super fresh. Who are the producers on your solo record? RM, sometimes we do our stuff on our own, and there's an in-house team always working with us in the label. Sometimes we get our songs from outside too. It's flexible. You produce maybe sometimes with Chad or just on your own, right? Is that a lot of work? Williams, for me, it's like Michelangelo when he was making sculptures. He's just, and I'm going to screw this up, but his whole thing was he was just getting rid of the rocks that were in the way of the sculpture. Something to that effect. It's the same thing. I'm just carving away at it and adding layers until I feel like it's right. And then if I feel like I need some help, then I'll reach out to somebody. My ego would get in the way when I was younger, but now my loyalty is not to my ego. RM, what is it to? Williams, it's to the song. It's how do we make the song the absolute best? That's where I'm at now. And I don't want to do anything that just feels like, oh, that's cool, that'll fit. No, I don't want to fit. I want to knock the wall down, and I want to set the whole entire building on fire. Not one room, the block. Not the house, the block on fire. I want it to be on the news at night. Listen, block on fire. RM, block on fire, BOF, block on fire. That's a cool name for a brand, actually. Sometimes as I grow up, and I'm between my chapter 1 and 2, like I said, the group and solo, maybe I'm between music and maybe visual art, between that. So sometimes I really feel afraid, like, what if I don't like music anymore? I love art, but it's somewhat different. Williams, it is. RM, it is, because music is like, it's everywhere. I'm sad, but it's everywhere. Sometimes I really feel afraid, like, music, it's not my first thing anymore. Sort of like that. Williams, yeah, that's temporary. RM, oh really? I'm relieved. Williams, yeah, then all of a sudden you go, whoa, it's the only thing I want to think about. It'll happen. RM, what do you get from visual art, fine art? Williams, I think for every modality that we have, every submodality that we have, meaning visual, olfactory, gustatory, kinesthetic, auditory, it's pretty much all the same. Like with food, something can taste sweet or sour. Things can smell sweet or sour. Visually, we can see something that looks sweet to us and something that's sour. With the auditory, we can hear something that is so sweet and so pleasant, and then we can hear something that's like, ooh, sour, you know? So I really got enjoyment by working with artists in different artistic disciplines to determine where the congruence is. Like, oh wow, that's your sweet. Oh, that's your sour, you know? RM. A fun thing for me with visual art is that when I listen to some great music, I'm blown away, but still, sometimes I feel really jealous. It can be really, really painful. So it's funny, right? But for visual art, I just won't draw a single line because I want to remain as an outsider. But I'm a lover, I'm a fan, I'm a maniac. So when I look at all the paintings and maybe sculptures, I just feel really relieved because I can love it as much as I can. They had a really great connection talking. Yeah, they did. Yeah, like you can feel them like realizing that they've had similar thoughts and feelings. And like, I love that Namjoon is getting this like reassurance from someone who's been in the industry for so much longer than he has and been like, don't worry. Things are cyclical. It'll come back. Like, don't be afraid. Williams, that's awesome. RM, any new projects coming for you? Williams, well, my project, it's under my name, and the title of the album is Friends, with PH. It's the volume 1. You guys, BTS, are on there, obviously, and I'm actually talking about this way more than I'm supposed to, but it's a song from my album that BTS sang, and it's amazing, and I'm super grateful. RM, I just love this song. Williams, I love it too. RM, fuck yeah. Williams, everyone that hears it is like, whoa, RM, I fucking love it. Williams, I love it, love it, love it. Look at this little love fest. I'm so excited for this. I'm so excited. I can't wait to hear it. Oh, honestly, I'm really happy that like the private time they've just been able to work on so much different music with so many different people without this like need for an album hanging over their head. Like, hey, when is your next group album coming out? Like, what do you got going on? Let's go. Like, let's make sure we have a plan. They've had the space to go make a bunch of crazy singles with a bunch of different people across all different kinds of genres, you know, in all together, solo, in like subgroups. Like, this is so cool. There's so much experimentation going on. And part of it, I feel like this is only possible now when they've all developed so much as artists and they all have a feel for what they want, you know, what they want to do, what they want to convey. Like, they've really developed themselves. And this is something, that's why I feel like this could have only happened now. And also post-pandemic, when everyone has realized that, hey, oh, you want your music to do well? Put BTS on it, which has given BTS the leverage to collab with anyone they fucking want to collab with. The unfiltered joy was infectious. Yeah. Williams, but I'm just gonna put this out there. You said you're 90% done with your solo album, but if within that last 10%, if you don't need me, but I mean, RM, I always needed you for 15 years. Oh, that's sincerity. We love an honest boy. I love him. I'm so happy for him. I knew this was going to be good for them. I was so relieved when they finally decided to start the second chapter. Same. So much better to move forward and change than stagnate and shrivel up in place. Like, change is good. Agree, but also armies have supported them and elevated them to a point where they have the leverage to collaborate and experiment with anyone they want. Hell yeah. As a creative, the greatest gift is the ability to explore and know that your support will still be there. Hell yeah. Hell fucking yeah. RM, I always needed you for 15 years. Boy, way to fucking lay it all out on the table in one sentence. Williams, okay, well, if you want to do something, we can actually do it. Look at that. Just like, you listen to the podcast, you can tell that there is a little bit of a language barrier in there. And, you know, like, I don't fault Namjoon, right? He's living in Korea where he's using his English so little, and like when you don't use a language, it does shrivel up and get packed away tightly in your brain. So you have to speak it for a long time for it to come back to the forefront of your brain and to your shorter term memory so that you can use it. So, but like you can hear in their interview that Namjoon is like trying to express himself because he wants to convey like all of these, like the tortured artist thoughts that he's had to Pharrell, and Pharrell's like, I think I get what you're saying. Here's my reassurance. Like you're fine. And like they're having these in-depth conversations, and then at the end, Pharrell is just like, can we just fucking collab? Like, I love this. RM, please. Williams, yeah, and you tell me what you want. Up-tempo? We go up-tempo. RM, I'm honored and grateful. Okay, I think in the podcast, they also talk about how they met, was it 2017? 2018? I can't remember what year, but they talk about how they met before and they took a picture together. And Pharrell Williams is just like, when we took that picture, I just wanted to tell you, hey, can we just leave this award show and go back to my studio and just start collabing and making music together? Like, fuck this. And I'm just like, I would have gone. 2018. Oh, they're so nerdy. I love them. This is the reaction that I have always wanted the Western music industry, Western artists to have to BTS. If you give them the space, if you give them the respect, like, that they deserve, like, all they want is to make music with you. They want to bring, you know, their experience and their taste to the table. You can, like, working with BTS should be like an artist's like wet dream, because it should be so much fun, so much creativity. Like, you're merging musical experiences and know-how from different parts of the world. Like, come on, that is how you make new exciting shit. And you are making it knowing that there's a happy, waiting, understanding, supportive fandom that will reward all of that experimentation. Like, it is the ultimate scenario. And the fact that it's taken so long for all of these good things to come BTS's way is really frustrating, but I'm still super happy that they're getting it now. June was kind of starstruck that time, though. He was so nervous. Yeah. Chris Martin's intro to Jin touched on this. Yeah. The fact that, like, you know, people are human and it's easy to be judgmental. But when you think about it some more, it's like, why should you be afraid? Why should you be nervous to make music with artists who are so different from you? You'll make music that's even more fucking fun and creative because of that. Shit outside the box. I like that. Yes. Pharrell, any final words of advice for RM? Williams, you know what? I would just say continue to move forward. Continue to be curious. And don't put any kind of pressure on what it is that you do by saying no absolutes, like, oh, I will never do music again, or I will never blah, blah, blah. I wouldn't do any of that. I would just, RM, no nevers. Williams, no nevers. Just stay along for the ride. Just keep going. RM, cruising. Williams, yeah, and just see where you end up, because it's really interesting. Can you feel that camaraderie, that, like, mentor-mentee relationship, that, like, creative burst of joy? Like, this is the best thing that has, in my opinion, come out of Chapter 2. BTS are allowed to step into the next portion of their career and keep growing. You know, I feel like whether it was because of the pandemic, whether it was because they had to enlist, it felt like there was some kind of ceiling that BTS were hitting. And again, I can't really figure out if it's because, like, it was self-imposed because they knew they had to go to the military, so they didn't really want to start exploring too much else before they all had to part ways, or if they were just, like, stuck trying to figure out, well, like, what is allowable and permissible for us to experiment with all the expectations that are placed on us because we're, you know, idols in a K-pop industry with K-pop expectations, or if it was because the pandemic put a ceiling on everyone and ground everything to a halt. Like, I don't know why, but it felt somehow like they were stuck and they couldn't keep going up. They couldn't keep developing themselves. And like, for those of you who were around, like, in their earlier years, like, their growth and their experimentation and what they were putting out in their music was, like, exponential. They were trying so many different things, and it was, most of it, I would say, like, 90% of it was landing, and they were like, oh cool, let's try this, let's do this, let's go there, blah blah blah. And then they were in a holding pattern. Yes, it was like that growth wasn't there. And I think for an artist, that is just so frustrating, because that's one of the joys of being an artist who makes art, is watching your own progress. You are your own biggest fan, and the excitement and joy you get from learning something new, from challenging yourself and, you know, like, reaching new heights, creating something that you never thought you could before, working with people that you couldn't imagine ever working before, like, all that stuff, like, that is in my opinion, the majority of why you want to make art, because it's so much fucking fun. And between the pandemic, between everything that was in their way, like, it just stopped happening, and the joy that had always been so palpable that came through their art was starting to diminish. And I think, especially in hindsight, I can feel it. I mean, like, I think we all could feel it in their interactions with us and performances and all that during the pandemic. But I also think artistically, and I mean, I've talked about this before, but like B, the beautiful, like gem that is the album B, was a conglomeration of all these songs that they had been working on individually for their own stuff, right? Because they had already all kind of mentally started to separate out to work on their different solo stuff, because they were already expecting to separate out by the end of 2020, after Map of the Soul tour would have concluded in December. And here came the pandemic, and so they had to kind of like pull back together all of the stuff that they had been working on individually to come out with B. And it was this really interesting look at like one person's flavor and something that one person had been working on, and then it was like repurposed and refurbished into something that all of them could be a part of and like contribute creatively to. So it created music that was really, how do I put this? I don't know, like lopsided? Not in a bad way, in a very interesting way. Like I enjoy the songs on B a lot because I can feel how distinct they are. They aren't part of this huge master plan formula that or like master plan strategy that they had been working through with all of their albums, from HYYH through Love Yourself through Map of the Soul. Like I mean, like even going back to the beginning, like the School trilogy, like they had this like big master plan of like the concepts that they wanted to explore in their music that was matching the growth that they were, going through life and like maturing through life. So it all made sense. And then this was the album that was less polished, and it revealed to me more of like themselves artistically, like where they actually were, instead of this I don't know, like smooth, like it's like all of the edges had been polished off, right? Like you get what I mean? Like the music that they were coming out with as a group, I'm trying to say this in a way that doesn't make it seem like I'm derogatory, because I adore all their fucking music, to pieces. But you could definitely feel that B was like off the beaten path. It was like a veering away because it was an unexpected album that they hadn't expected to make. And it was something that was more, I guess, raw and reflective of the time that we were living in. And that to me was like a different kind of growth, because like Disease is one of the greatest songs I've ever heard, and it's this mashup of so many different types of music and sounds, and like it's a totally different sound than anything on Map of the Soul, like Map of the Soul 7. So where am I trying to go with this? I've like lost myself in like trying to make sure that I'm being positive about my 7 favorite men on earth. My husband is my 8th favorite. Anyway, fuck, where was I going with this? What was I trying to say? I think I was just trying to say that like the amount of growth I saw from Map of the Soul 7 to B was really high, and I was just like, wow, like this is interesting, this is so different, this is like a new interesting direction. And then after that, I don't think I would consider PTD or Butter growth. I think that was them trying to make ARMY happy. I think that was them trying to make themselves happy, because I think they were trying to see if they had figured out the formula for dominating the charts and getting successful in the West. I don't think it was, I think it was them figuring out if they had finally figured out the rules to the game. Watching from Korea. Oh, hey. Sorry, I just choked on my own spit. What are you guys saying? BTS helped me get through the pandemic. Aw, I think they helped all of us get through the pandemic. That's sweet. That's the other thing. Like, I can totally understand them seeing the pandemic, them seeing how hard it is for them to get any concerts, any kind of tour, anything on the docket, because you know the world is trying to figure out how to deal with COVID. I can totally see them being like, hey, we have military enlistment looming. Let's just go knock that out right now. Let's all go. Let's all take care of that. And then by the time the pandemic's over, so will our enlistment. And then we'll be done. We'll be free. I can totally see them thinking that. And I can totally see them going to do it. Because I would have been like, all right, fine. I'll figure out some other way to survive. But at the same time, the pandemic, I feel like I would agree that one of the main reasons I got through it mentally intact was because of BTS. Was because, you know, in 2020 was when I started doing this YouTube stuff, you know, like finding a space in this fandom to just, you know, talk about how much I fucking love BTS. And creating a nice little community with you guys. And that wouldn't have happened, I think, if BTS had gone off to the military. I don't think I would have there wouldn't have been anything to spark discussion. You know what I mean? Like, our fandom operates best when there is some kind of comeback schedule, when there is something going on, when there is some kind of content that we're waiting for, watching, listening to, reacting to. Like, if there's something happening, that is when our fandom operates best. And when you leave us to our own devices, it starts to fester, especially on Twitter. And it starts, there's a lot of infighting that happens. And it's just because I think if you can't be positive BTS interactions, we'll have negative BTS interactions among ourselves. It's been like this for years. It's just, I think people get restless and shit just goes sideways. It's partially because BTS had cemented their signature sound and values as a group, and they feel that their group songs have to fit that BTS identity. I agree. Whether that is an accurate statement or something that was self-imposed, I don't know, right? Because we can only speculate, because what they did and what they stuck true to worked, and their fandom continued to grow and continued to gain people and, you know, grow baby army into mature army. Like, whatever they did worked, so we can only speculate whether it would have been any different, any better or worse had they not done that. So, like, I'm very cognizant of the fact that I say that, like, oh, they could have explored, but we don't fucking know. They started the online concert, which was new. They did. Them and their relationship with Venue Live, which is now just part of them, was just groundbreaking. Like, them realizing that there is a way, there is space to make this into something that can make money for the artist and can allow like global attendance of a concert that is only in one specific location and can only house X amount of people coming. And again, that could only have happened because of ARMY. The amount of money they invested into that, into making that a reality, into making that an actual business that other artists now come and use through them, is because we were there and they knew that ARMY would show up for BTS concerts and pay for it and help them recover the costs and make it so that they, wouldn't, be in the red. So pat yourself on the back, guys. It was all us. B, departure, unfiltered, growth. I have no idea what you're trying to say, Bung Luna. I'm sorry. You're so cool. No, I'm not. I'm just a BTS nerd, like all of us are. 0 O'Clock, I love. 0 O'Clock is great. That's another song I don't understand how they sing without crying. Okay, Tangent, which units are you looking forward to babysitting us? My votes are for RM, Jungkook, and Jimin. Chaos both physically and emotionally. I keep wondering how many of them, if they're actually gonna hold any of them back. Because if I was one of the members of BTS, all my other 6 members went off to the military, I would feel abandoned and left behind, and I would want to go to the military too. I wouldn't want to stay back. I would want to go and get it over with at the same time as my bros are, so that we can come back together faster afterward. Like, I'm worried about that. Like, not worried in the sense like I don't want it to happen, but I feel like they're gonna all hang around for a couple more months, and then they're all just gonna go knock it out and come back. Because imagine, like, when they come back, it's not like, oh, they come back and then the next day they're like, here's new music, army. Like, they're gonna need time to acclimate to society again, to figure out how to be creative, to figure out what they want to do, to see if mentally they're in a place they can do it, because being in the military is a very mentally strenuous experience, and a lot of people come out of it changed. A lot of people come out of it less in touch with their emotions than they used to be. So there may be a substantial period of adjustment, and who knows what kind of music, or if they would want to make music again. Like this isn't guaranteed. Like, I really hope that they come out fine and everything comes out fine, but it's not guaranteed that this is going to be smooth sailing. And I just don't want them to feel pressured that, like, they have to come out with music immediately. If they just want time to themselves afterwards and just, like, not interact with ARMY or do anything publicly, I think they're well within their rights to do whatever the fuck they want. So, in terms of who am I looking forward to babysitting us? Ideally, I want no one babysit us. Sorry, I'm a bit of a downer. I want them all to go. And I don't want anyone to feel like they're left behind. The boys gave me reasons to laugh and smile throughout the pandemic. Yes. I was trying to remind you what you were talking about. I don't remember what I was talking about. Thank you for trying to help me. I have no idea how this is going to work. Enlistment order. If I was them, if I was a member of BTS and I had some kind of project that was in the works right now, I don't know what my mental state is going to be like during or after my service. I would want to release everything that I feel confident in now, before I go. Have the time to promote it, have the time to celebrate it and enjoy it with my fans. Have this moment of catharsis that I made something that I struggled through so much pain trying to get something out there. And then, and then have that chance to feel validated in my feelings and feel connected with my fans. And then with no regrets, then I would go to the military. So, that is kind of why I also think they're all being so quick to release all of their stuff. They're like, here, I'm giving it to you before I go. One, because I want you to remember me fondly and remember all these things, all these ideas and concepts that I've shared with you through my music, and have this to hold on to while I'm gone. And then also selfishly, but also realistically, any money that would be earned through this material, they would be getting while they're in the military, right? Because while they're in the military, they're not allowed to make money. So this would allow them to have some kind of income happening while they're at the military, and also it would help Hybe keep their business operations going. I think the younger members may take more time if they have offers that they really want to try. That's a good point. Like, we haven't really heard anything that the younger members are doing. Well, I take that back. What about all those photos that Jimin posted with artists and producers on social media? Like he's been hanging out with a bunch of people making music. So maybe he's somewhere up in that. Maybe he'll be the first of the younger ones to release music. That would be awesome. They are going in the winter too. I think it's harder. Yeah. I think it's going to be a very tough experience for them. Although I did see some things that were saying that because they are celebrities and attention will be paid to them even while they're in the military, they will be treated well. Because apparently there's like a historical precedent that anytime celebrities do their enlistment, they get treated really well. So, selfishly, I hope that happens. I also felt the pressure that continued to be put upon them as their popularity grew. I'm still amazed how much they were able to handle considering how young they were. I agree. I also think it's crazy that, like, I think part of the problem is that the growth that they had from like debut until 2017 when they finally broke into the West, into America, was so exponential and so intense that growth and the expectation of that growth continued to like hound them into 2018, into 2019, into 2020. And they didn't need to grow as exponentially anymore. Like, does that make sense? Like, including internal like fandom expectations of like, we're gonna beat our records and we're going to do X, Y, and Z and stream blah 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 and all these records, we're gonna break all of them. Like, the records that we needed to break just kept growing. The amount of growth that was expected internally as a fandom was crazy, and also the amount of growth that the media expected was crazy. So no one ever thought to and there was never a space to reassess, both from the media and well, I guess we tried internally in the fandom. I don't know how well that worked out, but like, hey, maybe we should slow down. Maybe we should be fine. We don't need to always break records. Just being where we were before is still phenomenal. Bang BDM can babysit us, please. Yes. Oh, my bias. Oh yeah, I want Bang BDM to come with us and do a little cooking show with us on a V Live. That would make me happy. Shuga has to go pretty soon. Yeah, I think Yoongi's probably been quiet. I think they've all been quiet because they've been working on their own shit. But I get this feeling that they're all scrambling to try and get everything done and out there as fast as possible, and also so that there's time to schedule their stuff to come out before they have to go, so that they can all just like release everything and then leave for the military with no unfinished projects, so that they don't have any regrets and they don't feel like they're mentally still tethered to their career, that they can just put it down for a minute and go do this other thing. I don't know why I feel like Hobie is waiting to go with Jimin. Shuga should go with Jin. Preparing everyone up. Chop, guys! I was very curious. I'm very curious about the next shareholder update. So am I. I'll be very interested to see how they frame everything, and because, you know, the whole point of these things are to reassure the investors and basically to say, here's our plan for how we're going to grow our company, how we're going to keep making, successful business ventures. We're going to continue to make as much money as we were before, if not more, blah, blah, blah. Here's our strategy, and explaining it all in a way so that if I'm somebody who was about to invest in Hybe, I can be like, yeah, you're right. I can see how that would make you a shit ton of money. Okay, I will invest in you. I will go buy your stock. That's the point of all those things. So yeah, I'm excited to see how they frame the BTS stuff as well. And we can take turns charting each project by turn. Yes. You know we will. That's where we shine the best. When Army has a goal, we're very good little workers. It also depends where they go / what type of job and city. Yeah. Well, we'll have to see what happens. I think the spotlight will continue to be on them. Therefore, they will continue to be treated well. I saw a pic of Yoongi with Epic High. I think he's the next one to drop something after Namjoon. Jesus Christ. There's just so much content. Oh no, Yami, are you doing okay? I heard BTS broke up. I am busier than ever. My wallet is emptying faster than ever. I'm doing just fine. Thank you for asking. Every time everybody thought they'd plateaued, they'd spring forward much more. Yep. Either motivated by love for the fandom, motivated by the need for revenge against all their naysayers. Maybe a bit of both. But yeah, that I think after a while, you don't need to grow as much anymore. Just enjoy it. If you prioritize growth over everything else, you will stop caring. You will stop enjoying it as much. Sorry, Yami, have to leave chat for running around Jeju. Please continue to pray for South Korea. I will. The horrible tragedy of Itaewon. We were there the afternoon of that day having a late lunch. Oh my god, I am so sorry to hear that. Yeah, the Itaewon disaster is so sad. I have been reading so much about it. I told myself I wouldn't look at the footage, and then I found myself scouring the internet looking at everything because my brain I could not wrap my brain around what had happened, and I was just trying to make sense of something so senseless. And it was just so horrifying and so tragic, and I'm so sad for all those young people. Like, it's horrible in every sense of the word, and the fact that it's so little responsibility is being taken for this kind of shit. I mean, like, the older I get, the more jaded I feel, and the less I trust things to be done correctly. Like going someplace where there's a big crowd and I used to have a gut reaction of like, ooh, this is not good, and then being like, oh, it's fine, they wouldn't have let this many people gather for whatever reason if it wasn't okay. That's how I thought when I was younger, and these days, after watching so much shit go wrong in so many places around the world, I'm just like, no, I don't trust other people to take care of things. I don't trust the government. I don't trust the local municipalities. We are flawed humans, and we take so much for granted, and we all tend to think that we, I don't know, are immortal, invincible, and we're all just humans. We all tend to think that until our first big injury, and then we're like, oh, the human body is very frail. I'm living life like a fucking lottery. Things could go wrong any day. It just takes me sleeping in bed in the wrong position, and then my back is fucked for the next week. Oops. But yeah. We were too tired from all the walking around Seoul. Those alleys as narrow around that subway stop. Too many people coming up the subway while others were going in all directions. Yeah, from the pictures I saw, the videos I saw, that is such a narrow alleyway. And it's a T-shaped alleyway, and everybody was going in and out through all three directions. Like, that is just a recipe for disaster. The news in Korea has been saying since the new president had chose to move his office out of the Blue House, more local cops had to provide. Yeah, I read about how there's been a staff shortage in the police department, that so many police officers have been redirected to help keep the president safe on his commute from the Blue House to his residence or whatever, and how no one had thought to prioritize crowd control. I also read some other article that was saying that before the pandemic, crowd control training was common and just part of the standard. So governments and police officers were trained that. But during the pandemic, nobody was getting that training because they didn't need it, because big gatherings weren't happening because of COVID. And so now post-pandemic, those same government officials, police officers still don't have that training. And so they just didn't think about crowd control the way they should have. But obviously nobody wants to admit that. It's so fucked. I've been seeing people saying that it reminds them of the Seoul ferry disaster and how the government aren't taking any responsibility for what happened and are trying to victim blame. Makes me so mad. Yeah, I've seen other people pointing out that the young generation of which so many people died during the Seoul ferry disaster are the ones who have grown up and are now at that age, late 20s or late teens, early 20s, that were out partying and at this Halloween thing in Itaewon, and they were the ones affected again. And I look at this and I'm like, for a country that already has such a problem taking care of its youth, this has fucked them up even more. Like, how can you be so cold and callous to the young people in your country? Like, low birth rate, high unemployment rate, low employment rate among the youth, finding housing, finding jobs is so hard, and you keep fucking killing them. I mean, they're not the only country acting like that. Like, this is a global problem. Woohoo. Anyway, people in the past say that there was traffic control, but it didn't happen this time. Yeah. Glad you and your friends are safe. Boomers are living too long. Yeah. I'm glad that you are safe. It's just so tragic. I'm so sorry for anyone who has been affected by this. It's like, it's so hard to find anything positive out of so much senseless death and problems. And periodically the world looks really bleak, right? And in those times, most of us have turned to BTS music and content and just BTS in general for mental health. So it's times like this where I'm like, yeah, they could have gone to the military during the pandemic, but I'm so glad they didn't, because a lot of my mental health has been made better by them, by just their existence. Yeah. So this is a very sad note to end on. I wanted to like finish off this live stream, but I don't want to end it on this. Let's talk about how great Jin's music video and performance with Coldplay was, because I was a mess of tears for both. There is so much like love and sincerity and honesty and vulnerability in that song, and in his performance of it, and in his filming of the music video. I can't believe that, like, someone who's so, because Jin is normally so closed off, right? And so he makes it, I mean, he even said it in his interview with that YouTube girl, the crazy drunk one. He told her that, like, I only want to show the good sides of myself to Army because people love me so much. I want to do that for them. And I remember watching it and being like, no, you don't. Just give me all of you. I love all of you. And then him, despite knowing how he's so hesitant, you know, to show the deeper parts of himself in case anything goes wrong and something bad happens. And here he is pouring his fucking heart out in the song, in the performance, and I'm just like, oh my god, this is so hard. Oops, sorry, I just kicked my table. Like, it's so touching. It's so crazy to be so loved by an artist. So I know that there was a bunch of people just having blues over after we watched the performance with Coldplay over the weekend. I remember everyone's just like, his enlistment is finally hitting me. I'm sad now. And I was like, yeah, me too. Hopefully after this mourning period is over, we'll finally get his appearance on Running Man and the lyric video that they were going to release this week, but they aren't because this is the national mourning period. Yeah, so hopefully we'll see that next week. And yes, you're right, Bung Luna. Namjoon in his black turtleneck dancing to Sexy Nukem. I've had my playlist on shuffle this week, and every time Sexy Nukem comes on, I just groan. I'm just like, oh, not again. This is too much. My mind is just stuck there in watching him dance on that stage in that outfit. It should be illegal to be this attractive. Like, come on. Come on. Yeah. Oh, he cut his hair? Oh, yeah, he did. It is so hard to focus on anything when I see those videos, and I had people sending them to me on like every social media platform, and I was like, please stop. I can't do this anymore. I can't focus on anything except him. I have no words. There's no intelligence in my brain. Head empty. Whew. Even now, remembering it, I can't listen to that song seriously anymore. Like, I used to be like, oh, this is a fun, sexy song. And now I'm like, okay, this is like an orgasm in a song, and this is sexual tension in a song, and I can't do it. I can't do it. I cannot do it. Seeing all the celebrities, they're cheering for Namjoon too. Very Army behavior. Yeah, that was really nice. That was really validating. I was like, yeah, bitches, you fucking scream. I'm really jealous. I wish I was you. I wish I was there. Fuck. I also like how that wasn't announced. It was just suddenly we woke up to Instagram videos everywhere, and we were just like, what happened? J-Hope best wingman. Yeah, oh my god, honestly, both of them with their long hair, taking their like red carpet pictures, they were so hot. They both look so dangerous. Oh my god. Oh my god. Help me. I want more. I'm afraid. My body went into shock because I was bawling my eyes out crying over Ginny. Then I see June doing that. Having hot flashes through your body, hot and cold, not knowing what to do. Remember him singing on Instagram? His voice was ridiculous. Then a few days later we got performance. Yeah, I remember. Oh my god! I thought I was hallucinating. I like opened that story or like that video. I can't remember where I watched it on, but I was at work. No, it was over the weekend. I was doing something where I wasn't allowed to react. I can't remember what I was doing, but then I listened to that video and I'm like, God, oh my God. Does he know that that's not allowed to be posted in public? Like that is not safe for work. And NSFW. I didn't know what to do. Like, is he horny? Is that why he did that? Cause I'm horny. I'll help you. Like, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. I'm like tearing up. Jesus Christ. I have a thing for rock stars with long hair, so Hobie has been wrecking me. Oh yes. Hobie looks so good with his longer hair. I can't even tell. Is it extensions or is it real? Or both maybe at this point? Eargasm. Yeah. I thought I was going insane between crying and screaming into my pillow. Isn't it so insane? And it felt really intimate because he recorded it from just behind his phone, right? So when you listen to it, the sound makes it feel like he's with you. And you're like, I would do anything to be in that room with him. Okay. Waiting for the official video from the magazine. Yeah, that's supposed to come out this week. Stop it. Sorry, you guys brought it up. I can't help it. This is what I lose my mind. Now every time I hear Sexy Nukem on shuffle, I'm like, not again. Does he know the effect he has on us? Like, somebody put it out on Twitter, like, this man was wearing a turtleneck, long sleeves, pants. He was fully clothed, and all of us melted. Our brains just melted. I'm like, yeah, you don't need to be naked. I think if you showed me less clothing, more skin, I couldn't handle it. I just couldn't. No. Happy endings. I'm just gonna put it out there that I write fan fiction of the BTS variety. And I have some very niche fan fiction on my AO3 account that if it's that's you have to be logged into your AO3 account in order to see, because it's members only. But it's available for you if it's what you like. It's a very good time. Comes highly recommended if it's your thing. If it's not your thing, don't worry about it. Yeah, just search Yummy Y on AO3. I'm here for you. It's like he's leaving Spank Bank for his metaphorical wives for when he's gone. I wasn't expecting it. I wasn't ready for it. And it's like he broke the dam. I was comfortable. I was okay. And now I can't close the dam anymore. It's just... Why does he like to make us suffer? Watching him do flying yoga, he looked real good. He did. To be honest though, my bias is Jimin, and I just was really proud of him for being perfect. Like, look at my little baby. He's perfect. He's graceful. He does everything right on the first time. I'm so proud of him. And then in the background, fucking JK swinging around like a little kid. And those close-up fan cam angles were killers. Oh yeah, especially from below. I'm like, please stop. Please stop. How did you film this and not just reach out your hand? Is that bad? Would his bodyguards have stepped in? This isn't fair. These thirst traps, like, turn me into a monster. And I don't want to be. I want to be a very respectful fan. I was looking respectfully, but I can't help it when he slaps me in my face with his personality. Yeah. What am I supposed to do when that happens? His personality is just so big, so commanding. Okay. All right. Well, thanks guys. Between you and me, I've definitely driven myself into a little bit of a frothy place. So I think it's a great place to call it a night. So yeah. I hope you have a wonderful night, morning, day, afternoon, wherever in the world you are. If you're interested in my fan fiction, I hope you have fun reading that. And if you can't find it, feel free to DM me. I'll send it to you. And yeah, my mind is so scrambled now. What have you guys done? Oh boy. Okay. All right, guys. Bye-bye. I'll talk to you next time.